Hi. So, pretty much from the time I have walked out of my screening of Joker Folie Adieu, I have been thinking nonstop about the movie. I mean, I've been thinking about how to pronounce that title, but I've mostly been thinking about the content of the movie itself.
Gamey cookie guy.
Entertainment.
So, I generally try to avoid any kind of reviews or any kind of spoilers before going in to watch a movie. But before going in to see Joker 2, I had heard some snippets of reviews, and everything I'd heard was negative, which was very confusing, but I kind of just wrote that off as like, oh, it's the musical aspects people weren't expecting, and it was kind of rubbing them the wrong way. Because what seems like a growing trend for some reason when it comes to musicals, Warner Brothers Discovery didn't really do the best job of marketing this movie as a musical, or at least a movie with heavy musical influence and aspects. And I know I'd be disappointed, or at the very least seriously confused if I walked into what I expected to be this like grounded, serious follow-up to a pretty dark film and got like a singing and dance man. If I got like a, what is it? The frog, the hell of my baby frog, Michigan J Frog. But no, while the musical elements of the movie does have its fair share of opposers or people that weren't fans of that, it seems like by and large, the thing people didn't like about Joker 2 after two full movies is finding out that the guy they've been watching calling himself the Joker isn't actually the Joker. And believe it or not, for once in my life, I have no notes.
For once in my life.
That's right. This is not a rewrite video. So, like, I had fully planned to do a rewrite for this movie going in. And during the movie, I thought I had this, like, in the bag. I thought I had something solid in the works. I don't know how normal people watch movies, or maybe my experience is normal. I don't know. But so, like, when I'm watching a movie, I have the narrative that is I'm watching on screen, and I also have one building up in real time in my head, and they're like running parallel. And so if what I'm watching on screen kind of matches those expectations I'm building up, they run right through to the credits. That's most movies. Expectations have been satisfied. No rewrite needed. If you want a recent example of this, look no further than Wild Robot. Like, as that movie was going along, expectations were matching what I was seeing on screen. It was a great time. I recommend The Wild Robot in the middle of this Joker 2 video. However, when watching Joker Folie Adieu, I had a wholly unique experience while watching this. For like the vast majority of this movie, it was completely off the mark. Like, and usually the more divergent the path for the movie, the better the rewrite's gonna be. Like, I had this when I was watching Wish. I had this when I was watching Kung Fu Panda 4. These are two of my favorite videos I've ever made. And in my seat, in the theater, in real time, I was feeling dissatisfied with the movie, and I was already thinking about what I would have done differently. That video was born in the theater. That's what I thought what was happening when I was watching Joker. Cut to me in the theater watching Joker 2, and I feel like I'm having that same experience where I can't shake this one thought. It's usually one thought that a video forms around. And what I was thinking in the theater is, man, this character doesn't feel like the Joker at all. So how can I make a movie? How can I make a version of this movie where the character begins to feel more like the Joker we all know, but not be untrue to Arthur Fleck, but just feel more like the Joker, get him to that place sooner. And so I thought, like, for 90% of the runtime, that the movie only served to confirm what I was thinking. And so I had the foundation for a video at that point. So you can only imagine my shock and awe when it turns out that everything I was feeling in that movie was intentional. And like, the writers agreed that, hey, the reason you feel like that's not the Joker is because he's not. And then retrospectively, I realized that's what the entire movie was trying to tell me. In my hubris of me just sitting in the theater, pointing at the screen and going, this guy's not the Joker, these writers are trash, I'm gonna fix this. And it turns out, instead of being two steps ahead, I fell right into their trap. And I am just so amazed by what happened in the theater that night. Now, I completely understand if you were not a fan of this movie, especially if you liked the first one, which, to be honest, I didn't really, which is probably why I like this more, because it felt like a direct commentary on that first movie. It's a great companion piece, even though it's vastly different, because it's like you're taking this first movie and the character where it's like, oh, you think this guy who kicked off a socially rebellious movement, you think he's cool and edgy? Well, just wait till you see how he has sex. Like, wait till you see what he's up to now. It's funny because in a lot of ways, this movie feels like The Last Jedi, and in the ways it's trying to subvert audience expectation. I have a feeling the discourse around these two movies will be very similar, with the people who like the movies being very vocal and the people who don't like the movies also being very vocal. Which makes sense. These are both very passionate fan bases who have legitimate right to feel disrespected in cases of Last Jedi and Joker Folie Deux. I just happen to feel elated. Like this was some kind of magic trick that I just wasn't expecting. I was misdirected, and I had that joy of seeing the reveal. Even now, I think about this movie, and I think about the whole runtime, and I think about especially the ending. And if there's anything I might have changed, and in a couple places, yeah, of course there are. This wasn't a perfect movie. But then I come back to that moment of realization, that shock and awe moment of Arthur Fleck being stabbed in the jail by the supposed real Joker. And I realized that this movie is not about the Joker's rise. It's not even about the Joker's fall. This movie is just about a man who could not live up to the expectations placed upon him by the very people who claim to love him. And I just think that's some great meta commentary on this movie and of movies in and of themselves. And so if you didn't like this movie, which again is fine, but if you didn't like this movie, I would only ask that you pause and ask yourself why that is. Because, you know, if it's, you have followed this character for years, you've read all the comics, you have an appreciation for the Joker, and they didn't do that portrayal on screen, or like this was their one chance to do a Joker movie and they blew it. It's a wasted opportunity. If that's your complaint, I get it, because if a character I love finally got put on screen and they did this with it, I would be pretty upset too. But if the only reason you didn't like this movie is because of the ending and what they did, and you don't have that big of a connection to Joker, you're just like a movie fan, I would maybe ask you to rewatch it and watch it not as Joker 2, but as the story of Arthur Fleck. Watch it from the character's perspective. And I don't know, maybe you'll like it more. Don't watch it like tomorrow. Give it some time. Give it a couple months. You might have a better appreciation for this movie. Maybe. I know it's changed the way I watch these movies, and when I rewatch these two, that's how I'll be watching them. And so in the end, I don't have a rewrite for Joker Folie Deux, because it feels like the filmmakers made a movie, scrapped it, and then rewrote and remade the movie just for me, just so I would have that moment in the theater of delight. Anyway, I know this is a very different video than what you've come to expect from me, but I guess that's only fitting considering a subversive Joker movie was its subject. Please let me know if this is a type of video you liked, or, you know, just want to come back for more rewrites. That's completely fine. Let me know if you would have rewritten Joker 2 and how you might have done it, or if you're one of the clowns like me who actually ended up liking it as written. Please subscribe for the next rewrite or non-rewrite video. I'll see you then.